Hello, Yaro here, Home Hero. Today we are not in the studio. We are outside in nature because it is so nice. And I have some news for you. We just hit some crazy rate numbers. I'm talking about close to, okay, we're not at 8 yet, depending on your credit score. But we have hit record high rates for this year, and they're highest since we saw the peak in November of last year. So yes, we are at around 7.25 and up, which means good and bad things. But first, let me tell you how we got there. Again, ADP came out with a report, with a positive jobs report, which showed 500,000 new jobs, which definitely shook the market a little bit, and rates went up. And because we saw good news, again, remember, good market. If we're in a good economy is showing good, that we're battling inflation, rates go up, and if it's vice versa, rates go down. So we're seeing that rate highest since it's been November. Then the official government jobs report showed that we were below expectations, slightly below expectations, and that made it a little bit volatile. Kind of, wait, so which report are we really looking at? What's really the data? What is the data actually showing? Still very volatile. So we are still seeing rates in the sevens. If that official government jobs report came back with the same, showing a very positive growth and everything like that, we would have seen 8. Yes, we would have seen 8 today. So we're not at 8% yet. However, we are very close. Should you panic? Well, there's some good and bad news. If you are a buyer, this is good news for you unless you have no money. Okay? Let me explain. When rates go up, prices will have to come down because you cannot have both high prices and high rates. People will begin to adapt. That's why we're seeing homes sit in the market for 30 plus days, 45 plus days. That's why you're seeing signs out popping up and staying up. It's because the market adjusts to these conditions, and that's what we're going to see, which means you as a buyer have more opportunity to buy that home at a discount and still make them pay for price reductions, make them pay for your rate buy down. The 2-1 buy down is still a thing. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for you as a buyer. Yes, your payment is higher. Yes, you're paying more in interest. So get in with more money down if you can. If you don't have the opportunity, it may be a little tough, but you still have a lot of negotiating power as a buyer. So it's not a time to panic, because if you need to buy a house, you need to buy a house. I talked this in my last video. If you need a car for your family, you're going to buy a car for your family, regardless if it's really high. Now, what kind of car you buy matters. Maybe you're not going to buy a G-Wagon. Maybe you'll buy, a mid-sized SUV. So what you look at changes. Maybe Maybe you need to look in a different area, or if you can't, maybe you need to look at a certain area per se, and you can't look outside of that area. That's okay. Look at a fixer-upper. Be ready to put some DIY projects together. Do some family things together with the house. So there's things that you may have to look at differently. I'm not saying it's a good time to buy. I'm also not saying it's a terrible time to buy. It could be a good time or bad time. If you are a first-time home buyer, you should probably consider your options carefully, a lot more carefully than the seasoned buyer who's gone through this process, has more savings, and or is selling to buy and is putting a large down payment on their house. So on the other side, sellers, talking to you now, because you might be like panicking now. It's like, man, I missed it. Now how am I going to sell my house for the most amount of money? Well, the reality is things change, and you're not going to always be able to sell your home for top dollar. However, your media matters. That's where I come in. I specialize in real estate media. So yes, we can still do things to make your home shine from this competition, because at the same time, a lot of agents are trying to be cheap and save a buck or two and only give you pictures with their iPhone or maybe some kind of digital camera if they're a little better. Most people are not going to continue working full marketing package into their listings to list your house, because they're trying to feed themselves more, which is unfortunate, but that's just the world, the business world. This is how it is. So if you are a seller, it is still a great time to sell, and here's why. The timing. Inventory is still not where it can be or should be, so that's on your side. And we're in summer. The most amount of moves happen during the summer. Kids are out of school, easier to transition to things. Once we hit the fall, winter seasons, that's when we see less activity. Doesn't mean you should sell now versus later, but that's also something you should consider. Now, will you be able to sell your house for the same amount of money today as you were 6 months ago? No, definitely a different time. But again, we're seeing very similar things happen to the rate, which means we will see very similar things happen to the prices of homes. So don't expect your home to sell for $100,000 over list price. Be very strategic on how you price your home. Don't price it at market value. You're just gonna make it stale. There's just a whole strategy to that. If you are thinking about selling your house, let's get together. I'd love to tell you more about how we can be above the curve and really make sure that our home looks a lot better than its competition. And that's not just condition, but there's also other things we can do. So that being said, one last note before we end this video, and that is more rate increases are coming. Remember a few weeks back, people were saying, well, now the rates, companies and media platforms were like, oh, we're not going to see rate increases anymore. Economy's doing well. No, I told you guys then, I'll tell you guys again now. Our economy is struggling, and all these reports are contradicting each other. So really, nobody really knows what's really going on. So yes, more rates increases are likely, and they look like they will be coming, which means we'll probably hit 8% at one point. Are we going to see it next year early? Are we going to see it by the end of the year? Are we going to see it next week when both new reports come out? We don't know. We don't know. I don't know. You don't know. What I'm here to tell you is what we do know, and that is that higher rates are probably still ahead. And right now we're in the 7.25 range, which is definitely making the buyers who are approved for $500,000 now look at a lot cheaper homes. So not a moment for panic, but definitely a moment for you to really keep current with the changing trends and what's going on with all the marketing, with all the market updates currently. And I hope that it helps you make a smart decision, an educated decision, not just listen to a person what they're telling you to do because they did it 20 years ago. So hope this video helped. Until next time, I got a fresh new video coming out next week about how Uncle Sam is stealing more money from you, but more on that next week.